They laughed. Oh, they laughed hard when he walked in. Dirty sneakers. Torn coat. Matted hair like it hadn't seen a comb in months. The stench, let's just say people nearby didn't try to hide their disgust. You could see it in the way they wrinkled their noses, in the way they shifted in their chairs, clutching their purses and wallets just a little tighter. To them, he was nothing more than a stain on their perfect Monday morning. Just another homeless man probably coming in for warmth or to cause trouble. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't even imagine, is that this so-called nobody was about to turn their world upside down. Stick around because what you're about to witness is not just a story about a homeless black man. It's a story about assumptions, humiliation, power, and ultimate justice. And by the end, you'll learn why you should never, ever judge someone by how they look. Because sometimes the one who seems powerless is holding the most power of all. It was 9:02 a.m. at the downtown branch of Meadow Ridge National Bank. Suits moved like ants in and out of revolving glass doors. Phones buzzed. Lattes steamed. Everything was pristine, polished, professional, until he walked in. No one knew his name. No one cared to. The teller at window 3, Madison, was the first to spot him. She leaned over to her coworker and whispered, "Oh, trouble?" They both giggled. The security guard, a bulky man who had barely moved all morning, suddenly found the energy to stand tall, narrowing his eyes as the man slowly stepped forward. All eyes were on him. His shopping cart was parked outside by the door, piled with old blankets, plastic bags, and a torn-up cardboard sign that read, "Anything helps. God bless." His skin was weathered, lips dry, hands trembling just slightly. But when he walked up to the center desk, he didn't ask for change. He didn't ask for food. He simply said 6 words, "I need to access my account." For a moment, the entire bank seemed to freeze. The receptionist, a pale woman with a stiff smile, blinked in confusion. "Sir, are you sure you're in the right place?" she asked. Her voice was tight, almost forced. He didn't blink. "Yes. I'd like to make a withdrawal." She gave him a once-over, then looked around for a manager. It didn't take long before Mr. Anthony Barrett strutted out. A man in his early 40s, slicked back hair, pinstripe suit, and that corporate smile that never quite reached the eyes. "Sir, I'm the branch manager here. May I help you?" he asked, though it was clear from his tone he meant the opposite. "Yes. I'd like to withdraw funds from my account. I believe you'll find it under the name, James Edward Carter." The name dropped like a stone in water. It didn't ring any bells. Not to anyone there. Barrett nodded slowly, humoring him. "Do you have any form of identification, Mr. Carter?" he asked, already preparing in his mind to call the police if necessary. That's when James, this disheveled homeless man, reached into the inside of his grimy coat and pulled out a small black leather wallet. A real wallet. Worn but intact. And inside it? A driver's license. Government issued. Clean and up to date. He placed it on the desk. Barrett blinked. It matched. Name. Photo. Everything. Still he wasn't convinced. "And, do you have your account number?" James pulled out a folded piece of paper, written in neat handwriting. Account hashtag 4857-09812. Barrett typed it in, probably expecting an error message. But then, his face changed. His jaw tightened. His pupils narrowed. The screen loaded, and there it was. The account. Active. Under the name James Edward Carter. Balance. $3,264,928.47. The color drained from Barrett's face. No one spoke. You could hear the hum of the ceiling lights. The distant printer clicking. Madison at window 3 dropped her pen. And in that moment, just one breath, one beat, everything flipped. I see, sir. Please forgive the confusion. Let me personally assist you in the VIP office," Barrett stammered, already rushing around the desk. James didn't move. "No need," he said calmly. "I'd like to make a statement first." Barrett froze. "Excuse me?" James turned, his eyes scanning the room. "To everyone here, who laughed at me, who whispered, who looked at me like I didn't belong, I have a few words." People glanced at one another, suddenly unsure. James stepped forward, standing taller now, as if shedding the weight of years in an instant. "When I walked in, you didn't see a man. You saw filth. A problem. Something you needed to remove. But what you didn't know is that I was once you. I had a suit. A job. I ran my own investment firm. Until I was betrayed by my business partner, left with nothing. Homeless. Penniless. Sleeping in shelters. People crossed the street when they saw me. Like I was a disease. But I didn't give up. I studied. I invested in crypto early, made a few smart moves. And now, here I stand, with more in my account than most of you will make in your lifetime. Silence again. But this time it was shameful. Madison turned away. The security guard stepped back. Barrett's face was pale. James wasn't done. You judged me by my smell. My clothes. You laughed. But today I remind you of one thing: value doesn't always wear a suit. And with that, he looked at Barrett and said, I'd like to withdraw $50,000. In cash. And I'd like to donate it to the shelter down the street. The one that fed me when no one else would. Barrett nodded quickly, snapping into motion, suddenly obedient. Yes, sir, absolutely. Right away. James turned again, eyes locking with every face in the room. And just as he was about to head into the private office, someone spoke. Wait, said a voice from the corner. It was a young woman in a pantsuit, maybe a financial advisor. She stepped forward, eyes wide. Are you the James Carter who once ran Carter and Blackstone Investments? James slowly nodded. Yes, that's me. Her face flushed. You mentored my father. He always said you were the most brilliant strategist he ever met. I'm so sorry. I didn't recognize you. James gave a slow smile. That's okay. Most people don't recognize what they can't understand. She looked like she wanted to cry. Others shifted uncomfortably. The atmosphere had turned. As Barrett returned with crisp stacks of bills, handing them over like an offering, James took only a moment to check the total, then zipped it into his backpack. Thank you, he said simply. Now I'll be going. But before he could leave, a news crew burst through the doors. A local reporter, wide-eyed, breathless, camera in hand. Mr. Carter. We got a tip. Can we speak with you? People need to hear this story. James paused. Barrett's face tightened. He hadn't approved any media. Of course, James said. But only if I can tell the truth. The reporter nodded eagerly. Anything. James stood tall and the camera began to roll. I want the world to know what happens when we stop seeing each other as human beings. I want them to see how easily wealth changes perception. But more than that, I want them to understand that kindness, not money, is what saved me. Not this account. Not this bank. But the kindness of strangers at the shelter, and the strength I found in knowing who I truly am. He looked into the lens. And for anyone watching who's ever been stepped on, laughed at, ignored, remember this: you are not your circumstances. You are not their judgment. You are more. Just then, a commotion began near the doors. A black SUV pulled up. Two sharply dressed individuals stepped out. James recognized them immediately. His former business partner, Marcus Blackstone, and a high-powered attorney. They rushed into the bank. Barrett looked confused. Blackstone stormed up to James. We need to talk. Now. The entire bank was silent again. Tension crackled like electricity. James turned slowly. You've got some nerve showing your face here. The lawyer stepped between them. Mr. Carter, my client is prepared to offer you a settlement, to avoid further legal escalation. James raised an eyebrow. Settlement? For what? The lawyer glanced around, lowering his voice. If you agree not to go public with the evidence you've recently acquired. We understand you've uncovered documentation linking Mr. Blackstone to the fraud that destroyed your company. People gasped. Barrett took a step back. Employees whispered. James tilted his head. So, now that I'm not homeless, now that I've got power, you're worried about damage control? The lawyer's jaw tightened. It's in everyone's best interest if we resolve this quietly. James slowly reached into his bag and pulled out a slim black folder. You mean this evidence? He said calmly. He opened it, revealing copies of financial records, signatures, and emails. The lawyer paled. James looked around the bank, holding the folder up for the news camera to see. This is what they did to me. And now, the world will know. Blackstone lunged forward. You can't do this. But before he could get another word out, James turned to the reporter. You want your story? Here it is. When we left off, James Carter, once mocked as a homeless man, had just shocked everyone at Meadow Ridge National Bank by revealing his multi-million-dollar bank account and exposing the same former business partner who betrayed him years ago. The bank staff, who only moments earlier saw him as nothing more than a nuisance, now watched in stunned silence as news cameras rolled, the truth spilled out, and James took his first public stand for justice. But what James didn't know is that the storm he just unleashed was only beginning. Because some people, when exposed, don't just fall, they fight dirty. And in the next few minutes, the story will twist in a way no one saw coming. What happens next could destroy James again, or finally give him the justice he's been waiting for. Stay with us, because it's about to get real. Flashbulbs popped as James held up the black folder to the news camera. His voice steady, his hand firm. "This," he said, "is the proof. This is the paper trail they thought they could bury. The false filings. The forged signatures. The siphoning of funds from our clients' portfolios. Marcus Blackstone didn't just ruin a company, he ruined lives." Gasps rippled through the bank. Blackstone's face twisted into something inhuman, a grotesque mixture of panic and rage. "Turn that camera off," he barked at the reporter. "This is illegal, he's trespassing." The reporter didn't budge. "Sir, you're in a public bank during business hours. We have every right to record this." James gave a small, satisfied smile. Funny how the truth makes people uncomfortable. Suddenly, the lawyer stepped forward again, his tone more aggressive now. "Mr. Carter, I advise you to think very carefully about your next move. If you distribute those documents publicly, we'll file an immediate injunction. We'll sue you for defamation, slander, breach of contract." James cut him off. "You mean breach of the contract I never signed? Or the one you forged?" Another document slid out from the folder, an internal memo bearing Blackstone's digital signature, confirming a deal that was never disclosed to the board. The lawyer stammered, That's inadmissible. Where did you even get that?" James looked him dead in the eye. "Let's just say, not everyone in your office agrees with what you've done." Barrett, the bank manager who had been watching all of this unfold, suddenly cleared his throat. "Mr. Carter," he said, stepping forward carefully, "if any of these documents are genuine, this could become a legal and reputational matter for our institution. We'd prefer not to be involved." James didn't flinch. "You are involved, Mr. Barrett? Because when I walked in here this morning, your staff laughed at me, mocked me, judged me, and I let it go. But now I want the world to see what happens when you turn your back on a man who once lost everything." The cameras zoomed in closer. "Let the whole city see what justice looks like when it starts from rock bottom." Blackstone, now red in the face, turned to the lawyer again. "Do something." The lawyer hesitated. "We need to call the board. Get ahead of this. If this hits the news cycle, the SEC's going to come down hard. We need to settle, fast." But James wasn't having it. "No," he said. "You don't get to settle your way out of this. You didn't offer me a settlement when I was sleeping in my car. You didn't offer me peace when I was begging for work on the street corner outside your office tower. Now that you see my name trending on Twitter, now you want to settle?" The reporter stepped forward again. "Mr. Carter, what are your plans now? Are you going to press charges?" James nodded slowly. "Oh yes, but not just charges. I'm reopening everything. The civil case, the SEC investigation, and I'm pressing criminal fraud. I want him stripped of his licenses. I want every investor notified. And I want the public to know that the face of greed doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes, it wears a $3,000 suit." Suddenly a phone rang. Loud. Show. It was Barrett's office phone. He picked it up, listened for a moment, and his eyes went wide. Yes, I understand," he said nervously before hanging up. "Mr. Carter, you're going to want to see this." He turned the bank's TV monitor toward the lobby, where breaking news was already airing. The headline read, "Breaking: Whistleblower exposes financial fraud tied to Blackstone investments." James's photo was in the top corner. Below it, a scrolling ticker. More than $20 million allegedly stolen from investor accounts. Barrett looked like he was going to faint. "The news? It's already gone viral." Blackstone exploded. "You think this makes you a hero? You're a joke, Carter. You were finished. You were nothing. James stepped forward, his voice suddenly thunderous. "I was nothing because you made me nothing. You watched me fall and walked away. You burned the bridge, but I walked through the fire. And now, I'm back. And this time, I'm not going anywhere. The news crew followed James out of the bank. On the sidewalk, a small crowd had gathered. Some held up phones. Others recognized his name from earlier business articles and whispered in awe. The same man who once vanished from the finance world like a ghost was back, and he had fire in his eyes. A young boy, no older than 10, ran up to him with a piece of paper. "Mr. Carter, my mom says you're a real hero. Can I have your autograph?" James blinked, his lips parting in surprise. Slowly he took the paper and signed it. "Tell your mom thank you," he said softly. "And remember, never let anyone tell you you're less than." But just as he finished, a black car screeched to a halt on the curb. Two men in dark suits stepped out. One of them flashed a badge. "James Edward Carter?" the man asked firmly. James turned. "Yes. We need you to come with us. We have a warrant." "Yes." The crowd murmured. The news reporter stumbled forward. "What's going on? Is he being arrested?" But the agents didn't respond. One of them opened the car door. "Please, Mr. Carter. It's urgent." James looked around, stunned. "For what?" The man replied, "It's not you we're after. It's your brother." James froze. The reporter gasped. "Wait, you have a brother?" James swallowed hard. "Not just any brother," he muttered. "A twin." James Carter stared in disbelief at the man holding the badge. "My brother?" he repeated, barely whispering. "I haven't seen him in over a decade." The agent nodded. "Jeremiah Carter. We believe he's been using your identity. There's evidence linking him to multiple offshore accounts tied to Blackstone investments. We suspect he may have helped Marcus Blackstone launder millions, using your name." The words hit James like a freight train. The cheering crowd, the press, the rush of redemption, it all froze in time. I thought he was dead," James muttered. One of the agents exchanged a look with the other. "He's not. We've been tracking his movements for months. And here's the thing, Mr. Carter, he's in New York. Right now. And we believe he's trying to disappear for good." James clenched his jaw. A memory flashed. Him and Jeremiah as kids, sharing a tiny room, fighting over who got the top bunk. Jeremiah had always been different. Quieter. Colder. And when they hit their 20s, he disappeared. No calls, no letters. James hadn't heard from him since. But now he was back. And not just back, he was tangled in the same web of corruption that almost destroyed James's life. "Let's go," James said, turning to the agents. "I want to see him. I need to." Within hours, James was in Manhattan, standing outside a high-rise condo overlooking the city skyline. The agents had tracked Jeremiah to a penthouse apartment rented under a fake name, but the financial footprint matched the same fraudulent pattern used by Blackstone's network. They knocked. No answer. Knocked again. Still nothing. Then one of the agents picked the lock with quiet precision. Door open. Silence inside. James stepped in slowly, his heart pounding. Then he saw him. Seated on a leather sofa, calmly sipping a glass of scotch, was a man who looked exactly like James. Same eyes, same build, same face, just colder, sharper. Like a shadow of who James used to be. "Hello, brother," Jeremiah said. "Took you long enough." James stared, speechless. Jeremiah gave a slight smirk. "I saw you on the news. Big moment. Guess rock bottom builds character, huh?" "You set me up," James whispered. "You let them destroy me. You helped them." Jeremiah's smirk faded. "They were going to do it anyway. I just made sure I got paid for it." James lunged forward, but the agents held him back. Jeremiah stood, unbothered. "Let me guess, you came here to be the hero again? To serve justice? You still don't get it, do you? The system doesn't reward good men. It eats them alive. That's why you lost everything. And why I thrived." James shook his head. "You didn't thrive. You hid. Behind fake names. Behind blood money. You're a ghost, Jeremiah. And I'm here to end it." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then Jeremiah pulled out a flash drive from his pocket and held it up. "This," he said, "has everything. The full ledger. Every transaction Blackstone made. Every illegal deal. It could bring down a dozen CEOs. You want justice? Here it is." James stared. "What's the catch?" Jeremiah smiled coldly. "You let me go." The agent stiffened. "That's not how this works," one said. But Jeremiah just looked at James. Come on. We're blood. One last deal. You let me walk out that door, and I give you the ammunition to destroy them all. James's fists clenched. His mind raced. This was it. The final choice. Let his brother, a criminal, slip through his fingers and get justice for every person hurt by Blackstone's empire, or take Jeremiah in and risk losing the one thing that could truly bring the corrupt to their knees. He looked the agent in the eye. Give me 1 minute. Alone. The agents hesitated, then stepped out. James turned to Jeremiah, stepping close. You want to run? Fine. But you're not leaving with a cent. Give me the drive. Right now. Jeremiah narrowed his eyes. And if I don't? James stared at him, then slowly reached into his coat and pulled out a small hidden recorder. He hit play. Their entire conversation echoed back. Every word. Every admission. Jeremiah froze. You set me up? James didn't flinch. No. You set yourself up. I just let you talk. The agents burst back in. We heard everything. That's all we need. Jeremiah was tackled to the floor and cuffed. His eyes burned with fury. You think this is over, James? You think they'll let you win? James leaned down. It's already over. You just don't know it yet. 3 months later. The courtroom was packed. Marcus Blackstone, once a titan of Wall Street, now sat in an orange jumpsuit, his lawyer red-faced and stammering. Screens showed the evidence from Jeremiah's flash drive. The jury watched in horror as document after document confirmed the web of lies and greed that had stolen millions from ordinary people. James sat in the front row, his head high, beside a group of investors who had come to thank him. When the judge read the verdict, guilty on all counts, the room erupted in quiet applause. Outside the courthouse, cameras swarmed James again. A reporter asked, Mr. Carter, after everything, what would you say to people who've lost everything like you once did? James looked into the lens and said, don't let them define you by your lowest moment. You are not your failures. You are the fight you choose. And the truth? It always wins. Even if it takes time. Then he walked away, not just from the courthouse but from the weight of the past. 3 weeks later, a mysterious envelope showed up at James's door. No return address. Just a flash drive inside. And a note. You think you've won. But the game's just begun. Jay. You thought it ended with a courtroom victory. You thought the bad guys were locked up and justice was served. But James Carter is about to discover the truth. What he uncovered in that bank was just the beginning. Because deep inside that mysterious envelope was something even more dangerous than evidence. It was a warning. And what it leads to will turn James from a hero into a hunted man. This time the enemy isn't just one corrupt CEO. It's the system. And they want him silenced, forever. James Carter sits alone in his apartment, staring at the flash drive. The message on the note, you think you've won. But the game's just begun. Echoes in his mind. Against his better judgment he plugs it in. At first it's nothing but encrypted files. But one folder opens, Project Vulture. Inside are videos, spreadsheets, and classified communications between high-ranking financial elites, judges, politicians, and a powerful private intelligence firm known only as the Vallis Group. What James discovers makes his blood run cold. Not only was Marcus Blackstone laundering money, he was a small piece of a much bigger machine. One designed to rig elections, bankrupt foreign economies, and erase anyone who got too close. And now James has proof. Hours later, James notices he's being followed. The lights in his apartment flicker. His phone won't stop glitching. Then a message appears on his TV screen. Give us the drive. Or your story ends tonight. He rushes to a secure location. An old contact from his whistleblowing days, a hacker named Nova, helps him trace the origins of the flash drive. She finds that it was sent from inside a federal agency, by someone codenamed Echo. Nova warns James, this isn't corporate fraud anymore. You're stepping into something global. These people don't sue. They erase. But James refuses to back down. They tried to silence me once. Let them try again. As James digs deeper, he uncovers footage of private meetings between Jeremiah, his now incarcerated twin, and members of the Vallis Group. Jeremiah had been working for them all along, and he wasn't acting alone. Nova decrypts a hidden file on the drive. It contains audio of a high-level conversation. One voice stands out. James recognizes it immediately. It's the judge who presided over Marcus Blackstone's trial. The same judge who let several key witnesses testify in James's favor. The same judge who gave Jeremiah a lighter sentence. The trial was staged. A cover-up. A distraction. They wanted Marcus to fall, to protect someone higher up. James realizes he's been used. His story, his redemption, was engineered to give the public a scapegoat, a sense that justice had been served, while the real power brokers cleaned house behind the scenes. But James has one thing they didn't expect: the people's trust. He was once mocked as a homeless nobody. Now millions follow his story. People listen to him, believe him. So he makes a choice: go public again. He schedules a live stream with Nova, prepared to drop the biggest expose of the decade. But right before it begins, Nova vanishes. Her apartment, emptied. Her servers, fried. No trace. And then James's door is kicked in. James is dragged into an unmarked van by masked agents. Inside, a man sits across from him. Clean cut. No name tag. Calm. Deadly. The man leans forward. You think you've uncovered the truth, Mr. Carter? But all you've done is wake up the giants. James stares him down. I'm not afraid of giants. I used to sleep in alleys. Your threats mean nothing. The man smirks. Good. Then maybe you're ready for the offer. James frowns. Offer. The man slides a black envelope toward him. Join us, or disappear. He started as a homeless man mocked by the world. Then he revealed he was a millionaire. Then a whistleblower. Then a hero. But now, James Carter has been given the ultimate choice. Join the corrupt system that once destroyed him, or risk his life trying to bring it all down. This time, justice isn't in the courtroom. It's in the shadows. And this time, if James fails, the world will never even know he was gone. The black envelope sits in James's hand. Inside it, a contract, non-disclosure agreements, relocation orders, and a promise: unlimited wealth, global protection, and immunity from everything. All he has to do is stay quiet and work for them. The man across from him, the recruiter for the Vallis Group, smiles like a predator. You've proven yourself useful, Mr. Carter. The public trusts you. We need men like that. James glares at him. You want me to lie for you? We want you to speak, when and how we tell you. Be the hero they listen to. The face of justice, our version of it. James clenches the envelope. For a moment he considers it. After everything he's been through, living on the streets, losing his company, being betrayed by his own brother, he could finally rest. Finally be safe. But then he remembers the woman from the shelter who gave him her last meal. The young man who came up to him outside the courthouse and said, "You made me believe again." The investors who were robbed. The families who lost everything. James looks up. You think I'm for sale? The man's smile fades. No, Mr. Carter. I think you're smart. I think you understand what happens to people who say no. James's eyes burn with defiance. Then let's find out. That night, James is released from the van. They give him a burner phone, a new ID, a 1-week deadline to reconsider. But James has no intention of joining them. Instead, he vanishes. He contacts Nova's underground network of activists and digital resistance fighters. Turns out, Nova wasn't kidnapped. She faked her disappearance to buy time. She's been working underground ever since. Together they hatch a plan. James will go back on the air. One last time. This time not with bits and pieces of corruption. This time with the whole picture. Names. Faces. Financial records. Blackmail logs. Assassination lists. It's dangerous. It's treasonous. But it's the truth. They call it Operation Phoenix. The Vallis Group moves fast. James's bank accounts are frozen. False criminal charges appear on his record. The media starts running stories about James being a con man, mentally unstable, a fraud. One day as he walks through a subway station, a man in a hoodie brushes past him and whispers, "Run." Seconds later, an explosion rocks the platform. James and Nova go on the run, crossing state lines using back channels, safe houses, burner devices. But with every step they're closer to completing the data leak. And then, it happens. James sits in a basement studio, surrounded by Nova's team. Dozens of laptops open. Monitors showing live feeds. It's time. He goes live. Broadcasting simultaneously on dozens of underground channels. He doesn't just drop files. He tells his story. How he was betrayed. How his brother sold him out. How he was mocked in a bank while holding millions in a forgotten account. How Blackstone fell. How the system let him believe he'd won, only to try to turn him into a puppet. And then, he drops the hammer. Everything from the flash drive. Everything Jeremiah knew. Every corrupt official, CEO, judge, and intelligence officer involved. Names. Dates. Evidence. The inner workings of the Vallis Group. The feed spreads like wildfire. People share it. Mirror it. Archive it. It's unstoppable. Until the signal cuts. Static. Silence. Everything goes dark. Nova gasps. They found us. Sirens in the distance. Boots on pavement. James grabs the hard drive and runs. Nova shouts, "Don't stop until it's everywhere." Gunfire outside. A voice over a megaphone, "James Carter. Come out with your hands up." James runs to the rooftop. Helicopters hover overhead. Agents swarm the building. He sees a lone drone on the roof, a final failsafe. If he plugs the drive into it, it will finish the upload globally. But they're closing in. He has seconds. Then he hears it, his brother's voice. From behind, handcuffed in the arms of agents, Jeremiah. "They'll kill you, James. Just hand it over. You can't win." James looks at him. "I already did. When I chose truth over fear." And with one final breath he plugs in the drive. The drone lights up. Upload begins. Agents rush him. He's tackled. Cuffed. Slammed into the concrete. 2 weeks later. A young boy sits in a classroom holding a tablet. On the screen, James Carter's final broadcast. His teacher says, "Today we're learning about whistleblowers. Heroes who spoke truth to power." Across the country, protests erupt. Investigations are launched. Arrests begin. And James Carter? He's gone. Disappeared. Some say he's dead. Others say the Vallis Group buried him. But on a quiet street in Nairobi, Kenya, a man with tired eyes and a worn hat sits at a cafe, reading a newspaper. Headline, "World Governments in Turmoil After Massive Data Leak." The man smiles. A waitress walks up and says, "Hey stranger, you look familiar." He chuckles softly. "I get that a lot.